For decades, Maury Povich stood at the center of family truth and DNA revelations, calm voice, one envelope, and a sentence that could change lives forever. But some stories never made it to that famous stage. Some truths were too heavy even for the brightest studio lights. This is one of those stories. I asked her the question on our 15th wedding anniversary. We were sitting at a restaurant overlooking the ocean. Candlelight, white tablecloth, a bottle of champagne that cost more than my first car. Everything was perfect. And then I ruined it. Did you sleep with my brother the day before our wedding? The words came out before I could stop them. 15 years of silence, 15 years of doubt, 15 years of pretending I didn't know. And suddenly, it was over. My wife, Jennifer, set down her champagne glass. She didn't ask me to repeat the question. She didn't pretend she didn't understand. She just looked at me with those beautiful brown eyes and said nothing. And that silence told me everything. Let me start from the beginning. I met Jennifer in college. She was a junior, I was a senior, and we fell in love the way people do in movies. Fast, reckless, completely certain that we had found our person. By the time I graduated, I knew I was going to marry her. By the time she graduated, I had the ring. We got engaged on her 22nd birthday, and we planned the wedding for the following summer. It was supposed to be the happiest time of our lives, but my brother had other plans. My brother's name is Kevin. He's 2 years younger than me. We grew up close, playing basketball in the driveway, sharing a bedroom until I was 14, covering for each other when we snuck out at night. But there was always a competition between us. Kevin was better looking, more charming, the kind of guy who walked into a room and immediately became the center of attention. Women loved him, men wanted to be him, and I spent most of my life standing in his shadow. When I brought Jennifer home to meet my family, I watched Kevin watch her. I saw the way his eyes followed her across the room, the way he leaned in a little too close when they talked, the way he touched her arm, her shoulder, the small of her back. I told myself I was being paranoid. Jennifer loved me. We were getting married. Kevin was just being friendly. I was wrong. The rehearsal dinner was the night before the wedding. It was held at my parents' house. Family and close friends, maybe 40 people total. Toasts were made. Tears were shed. Everyone kept telling me how lucky I was. I felt lucky until I noticed Jennifer was missing. She had excused herself to use the bathroom about 20 minutes earlier. I assumed she was mingling somewhere, talking to relatives, accepting congratulations. But when I scanned the room, I couldn't find her. I couldn't find Kevin either. I told myself it was a coincidence. They were probably both outside getting air, or in separate parts of the house, or anywhere other than where my paranoid mind was imagining them. I walked through the house casually, not wanting to seem like a jealous fiancé searching for his bride-to-be. I checked the kitchen, the living room, the den. No Jennifer, no Kevin. I walked upstairs. The hallway was dark. Most of the lights had been left off since the party was downstairs. But I could see a sliver of light coming from under Kevin's old bedroom door, and I could hear voices, low, urgent, the kind of voices people use when they don't want to be overheard. I stood outside that door for what felt like an eternity. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. My hand was raised, ready to knock, ready to push open the door, ready to discover whatever was happening inside. But I didn't. I couldn't. Because if I opened that door and found what I feared, my wedding would be over. My relationship would be over. My life as I knew it would be over. So I walked away. I went back downstairs, poured myself a drink, and pretended everything was fine. 20 minutes later, Jennifer reappeared. Her cheeks were flushed. Her hair was slightly disheveled. She said she had been on the phone with a college friend who couldn't make the wedding. I didn't challenge her. Kevin came down 10 minutes after that. He didn't look at me. He didn't look at Jennifer. He just grabbed a beer and walked out to the backyard. And I told myself I was imagining things. We got married the next day. The ceremony was beautiful. The sun was shining, the flowers were perfect, and Jennifer looked like an angel walking down the aisle toward me. She cried as she said her vows. I cried too. My mother cried. Even my father, who never showed emotion, wiped his eyes during our first dance. Everyone said it was the most romantic wedding they had ever attended. They said we were the perfect couple. They said we would last forever. But the whole time in the back of my mind, I kept seeing that closed bedroom door, that sliver of light underneath, Kevin's face when he came downstairs, the way he wouldn't meet my eyes. I pushed it down. I buried it deep. I told myself that I was starting a new chapter of my life and I wasn't going to let paranoid suspicions ruin it. For 15 years, I kept kept that promise. For 15 years, I pretended I didn't know what I knew, and then our son turned 14. His name is Marcus. He's tall, athletic, charming in a way that makes adults laugh and teenage girls blush. He's the best thing that ever happened to me. But lately, I've been looking at him differently because Marcus doesn't look like me. He has my wife's coloring, the brown eyes, the dark hair, but his features are different. His nose, his jawline, the way he tilts his head when he's thinking. He looks like Kevin. I never noticed it before. Or maybe I did notice and refused to acknowledge it. But once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. Every time Marcus walked into the room, I saw my brother. I started doing the math. Jennifer and I got married in June. Marcus was born the following March. 9 months. But what if the conception happened the night before the wedding? What if Jennifer was already pregnant when she walked down the aisle with Kevin's baby? I became obsessed with the timeline. I pulled out old calendars. I counted days. I researched how pregnancy dating works, how due dates are calculated, how accurate those estimates really are. The numbers fit. They fit perfectly. I bought a DNA test. I didn't tell Jennifer. I didn't tell Marcus. I waited until they were both out of the house, and I swabbed Marcus's toothbrush, sealed it in the collection tube, and mailed it to the laboratory along with my own sample. 3 weeks later, the results arrived. I opened the email alone, sitting in my car in the parking lot of my office. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely tap the screen. The attachment loaded. I read the results. Probability of paternity. 0%. I sat in that parking lot for 2 hours. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't do anything except stare at that number. 0% glowing on my phone screen like a death sentence. 0% probability of paternity. The clinical language of the report felt almost cruel in its detachment, like my entire world hadn't just collapsed, like 14 years of fatherhood hadn't just been erased by a single laboratory analysis. Marcus wasn't my son. I thought about all the nights I'd stayed up with him when he was sick, the first day of kindergarten when he cried and I knelt down to wipe his tears, the time he broke his arm falling off his bike and I carried him to the car, blood soaking through my shirt, promising him everything would be okay. I thought about teaching him to throw a football, helping him build his first science project, sitting in the stands at his basketball games, cheering so loud my throat hurt the next day. 14 years of memories, 14 years of love, and none of it was real. He wasn't my son. He had never been my son. He was Kevin's. I didn't confront Jennifer right away. I needed proof. Not just that Marcus wasn't mine, but that Kevin was the father. The DNA test had ruled me out, but it hadn't confirmed who the real father was. So I waited. I waited until the next family gathering, my parents' anniversary party in September. Kevin would be there, and I would get what I needed. Getting Kevin's DNA was easier than I expected. He left his beer bottle on the patio table when he went inside to use the bathroom. I grabbed it, wrapped it in a napkin, and stuffed it in my jacket pocket. The next day, I mailed it to the same laboratory. 3 weeks later, I had my answer. Kevin Mitchell, Marcus Mitchell, 99.97% probability of paternity. My brother was my son's father. For 14 years, Kevin had known. He had to have known. He had watched me raise his child, celebrate his birthdays, post his photos on social media. He had watched me be a father to a boy who wasn't mine, and he had said nothing. Jennifer had said nothing. They had let me live a lie for 14 years. I planned the confrontation carefully. I wanted to do it somewhere private, somewhere Jennifer couldn't run away, couldn't deflect, couldn't avoid the question any longer. Our 15th wedding anniversary seemed fitting, a celebration of our marriage, or rather, a funeral for it. I booked the restaurant, I ordered the champagne, I waited until the appetizers arrived, and then I asked the question, did you sleep with my brother the day before our wedding? Jennifer didn't cry. I expected tears, hysterics, denials, but she just sat there perfectly still, like a woman who had been waiting 15 years for this moment. Yes, she said. One word, no excuses, no explanations, just yes. And Marcus? Jennifer closed her eyes. I didn't know, not for certain. The timing was so close. I told myself he was yours. I made myself believe it. But you suspected. Yes, I suspected. For 14 years. Yes. I felt something inside me collapse. Not anger, that would come later. Just emptiness. A hollow space where my marriage used to be. Why? I asked. Why Kevin? Why the night before our wedding? Jennifer finally looked at me. Because I was scared. I was 23 years old, about to marry someone I wasn't sure I loved enough. Kevin made me feel wanted, desired. It was stupid and selfish, and I have regretted it every single day since. But not enough to tell me. I was afraid of losing you. You've lost me now. I confronted Kevin the next day. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed next to Jennifer, this woman I had loved for 17 years, this woman who had betrayed me in the worst possible way, and I stared at the ceiling until sunrise. When morning came, I told her I had an early meeting. I got in my car and drove to Kevin's apartment on the other side of town. I didn't call ahead. I didn't warn him. I just showed up at his door at 7 in the morning, still wearing yesterday's clothes, my eyes red from exhaustion and rage. He opened the door in his bathrobe, clearly hungover from whatever he had been doing the night before. His hair was messy. His face was puffy. He looked at me with confusion, then concern. "Hey man, what are you doing here? Is everything okay?" "We need to talk," I said. He must have seen something in my face, something dark, something dangerous, because he stepped aside without another word. I walked into his apartment. The place was a mess. Beer bottles on the coffee table, takeout containers on the kitchen counter, the life of a 40-year-old bachelor who had never grown up. I sat down at his kitchen table. I pulled out the DNA results, both of them, mine and his, and spread them in front of him like evidence at a trial. "You want to explain this?" Kevin looked at the papers. His face went pale. "How did you? Does it matter? You slept with my fiance, you got her pregnant, you let me raise your son for 14 years, and you never said a word." Kevin sat down heavily across from me. "I wanted to tell you so many times, but Jennifer begged me not to. She said it would destroy you. She said Marcus needed you as a father. Marcus needed the truth. I needed the truth. I know, I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this. Sorry doesn't give me back 14 years. Kevin was crying now. My brother, the charming one, the confident one, the one who always had the right words, was crying like a child. "What do you want me to do?" he asked. "Tell me, and I'll do it." I stood up. "I want you to stay away from my family, my wife, my son, all of it. You're dead to me." I walked out of his apartment without looking back. I heard him calling my name as I reached the elevator, but I didn't turn around. Some relationships can survive betrayal. This one couldn't. Jennifer and I divorced within the year. There was no way to save the marriage. The foundation had been rotten from the start. Every happy memory was tainted by the lie underneath. We told Marcus together. It was the hardest conversation of my life. He was 15 by then, old enough to understand, old enough to be devastated. "So you're not my real dad?" he asked. I took his hands in mine. "I raised you. I loved you. I will always love you. Biology doesn't change that." "But Kevin is your biological father. But I'm your dad. That hasn't changed. That will never change." Marcus hugged me so tight I thought my ribs might break. "I don't want Kevin," he whispered. "I want you. You have me, always." It's been 3 years since that anniversary dinner. Jennifer moved out of state. Kevin and I haven't spoken. Marcus lives with me full-time and sees his mother on holidays. The anger has faded, not disappeared. I'm not sure it ever will, but faded into something quieter, sadder. I lost my wife. I lost my brother. I lost my belief in the family I thought I had, but I didn't lose Marcus. He's 17 now. He looks more like Kevin every year, but when he laughs, when he talks, when he sits next to me watching football on Sunday afternoons, he's my son, not by blood, by choice. And that's enough. For decades, Maury Povich stood at the center of family truth and DNA revelations. Calm voice, one envelope, and a sentence that could change lives forever. But this story didn't need a stage. It only needed a question asked 15 years too late, and a father who refused to stop being one.